All right, all you devils out there, happy Friday. Well, okay. Starting to look pretty good for crypto here. Now, so let's go out to Bitcoin here. Well, here, I guess we'll start on the 3-day. You know, it's been kind of talking about this for some time here. Now we start to see it start to kick. It's, can you find a more technically perfect chart than that? I'm not sure you can. That's about as good as they get, right? If you're looking, if that's not good enough for you, I don't know what you're waiting for, right? I mean, now you're kind of perhaps a bit late to the opportunity here, but there will be retracements. So let's go down to the daily here. If you didn't catch any of this prior action, well, it's a shame. All right, so let's go maybe a 4 hour, see how that looks here. Let me get down here. All right. It might be a little bit late to this impulse. Looks like we're heading towards completion. Oh, maybe let's try a 2 hour. All right, 1, 2. Looks like a pretty good 3. You know, they got a little funky in here. I'm on Bitstamp here. I trade it often here on Bitstamp, but you've got a true double here. So there's been some, a few of the other indexes or exchanges, I should say, you had a little gap here, so it was easy to think 1, 2, 1, 2. I think you're probably better here to just 1, 2, 3, 4, some sort of a extension in the 1, 2, 3, 4, some sort of a little diag of sorts, right? So it's at times, right, you just got to go with what's implied, right? It looks to me like we've got this being nicely implied by the market. How do you not like that, right? Look, everything about it. Okay, a little bumpy on the start. I can appreciate that. Of course, always easier in hindsight. And it's a little bit easier when you pull out to a higher time frame. Well, that's always been advantageous to the elitician to stay 60 minutes and above, which is why rarely do you ever see me going down to 1 minute, 2 minute, 5 minute, any of that, right? The Elliott counts change all the time, right? You're going to see them much better out here at a distance. The only thing that might be better than the impulse on the daily or weekly is the impulse off of the hourly, the shorter term, the 2 hour here. I don't know what you're waiting for. If you didn't buy this or this, I mean, it's swing 3 to retrace, swing 3 to retrace. Eventually you just got to man up and take that trade, right? If you're not in it and you're like, you can't be scared of it, right? Scared money never prospers. Okay, so 1, 2 looks like maybe we've got this. Let's go down, see if we can get the little breakout here. You got a little bit of a little funky start there. Oh, you could probably do it a couple of different ways here. So maybe 1, 2, working on 3, 4, 5. Go. God, I hit something, and all of a sudden I'm getting updated all the time. I don't know what the hell I hit, but all of a sudden I'm getting every update I don't want. Okay, so wait a second. I digress here. Let me get this down to a smaller degree here. A color we haven't used. Let's how about blue here? Going up for that 5. Okay, well, the beauty of this is that you're likely to see this repeat. So if we are headed towards, we don't have the 4 coming in yet. Okay. Right, if and whenever we get this pivot up here, when we get a pivot, right? I doubt we're going to the moon in a straight line, but we're going to get some sort of a retrace here that'll create the opportunity for the 4. Now, keep in mind, right, as we look here, that would be a break of structure up. What do we know about a break of structure up, right? And next thing we can anticipate is a retrace. Now, we don't want it coming all the way down here to a fair value gap that's this deep. We want to see. I don't have the pivot high yet. Oh, if we're going to go A, B, C and pull from here. Something like that, right? Maybe depending on how far this goes, come back to retrace and test that pivot high. No requirement that it goes lower here, but you're just anticipating a retrace. Oh, do I have anything? I thought I had something below. Yeah, so there's a CCI getting awfully hot, right? CCI is unbounded, right? I do like this indicator. Been working with it a lot lately. So I like, because what happens is when it goes up over 200, it doesn't, unlike a Stoke or an RSI, it doesn't stay pinned, right? You'll see, I mean, look at it, right? It's boom, and then it turns. So yes, right, unbounded, it can go, what do we get up here? 366. I mean, those are high level. 200 is pretty much a benchmark for overbought, oversold, right? If indeed something like that exists. But you'll see that once we get up there, it tends to come back, up and back, up and back. So as we go here into the 3 with the big push, right, it's not surprising that the impulse is pushing it up over 200. Now, as we start to come back, 4, 5, right? Eventually, here this time we put a little geometry around it. Something along these lines here. Look for that opportunity on the retrace. Now you don't want to overstay here too long if you're going to take that. That's a trade you could take with some leverage, right? Now don't go crazy, but maybe 3x, 5x. You could probably take that trade because you're going to have a, well, I mean, you could use the 50 as an exit. Well, you got a nice little ledge here. Maybe to use something like this. All right, something like that. Say, okay, well, number one, we don't want a 4 going that deep, right? It reduces the probability we get a good 5. Much higher. If we did and it kept going, we didn't overlap the 1. Higher probability you get either a double or maybe a trunk, but you're not as likely, right? Anything's possible. Not as likely to get a big rip roaring 5. No, I don't see any reason to anticipate that. So something like this right here in 2338, right in the high probability zone, we get a little retrace right in line with the channeling, 4 to the 5. Well, when we complete that, if assuming, right, we follow this trajectory, which no reason to think otherwise, at least not at this moment. Well, what did we just complete? Right, if indeed, all right, we've got a WXY. Reasonable, right? And no matter whether, however you want to label it, it's a 3 all day. Now we come off of this in what appears to be a 5 completing. Well, if indeed we're going to come up here, let's see, we got, do I have them in there? Yeah, I do. I just don't have as many. Well, here you can see we got order blocks and fair value gaps up here. This has already been tapped partially right here, so order block above it. Oh, we could probably go, oh, hell, I just used the whole thing. Oh, what do I got here? Sells supply zone, right? So we'll see right now. Just because they're up here doesn't mean we can't get through, but that would be an area where you might expect some resistance. And of course, looking across, I mean, would you be surprised if you think that there's a bunch of stops up here? Seems a reasonable anticipation. Now, just because they're there doesn't mean they can't be ripped through. But if you're looking here at this, see, we want to try and forecast in terms of what would be typical. So if this is going to go up here, we're going to complete this 5. Well, what are we anticipating to follow that? Again, it's not that we know. It's just that that's what it usually does. So why would we anticipate something? I mean, again, this is just it's just been exceptionally good Elliott. And it's always tricky with Bitcoin, right? It's always tricky. But right now, right, going up to complete this impulse, right, 1, 2. Right now, if you want to be patient and wait for this to complete, so you really, really lock in on with good, very high probability we've got the low end. And this is going to go 1, you're going to wait for the 2. Well, of all the trades that have come across, 5 years I've been doing this, I would not miss that one. 60-ish. If you missed this, okay, don't cry yourself to sleep. Odds are you're very high probability we're going to complete this impulse and then we'll see some sort of a correction. Odds are, right? No certainty, but that's, I think, a reasonable expectation. Now we shall see. First, let's finish the 5 here. Well, let's see what kind of correction we get off of that. I'm pulling here without a pivot, right? So don't lock in on what I'm saying here. Let's get the pivot high. I mean, we could go to a new all-time high. Let's just get that high, and then eventually we're going to have our target. I'm just using here this fair value gap and the expectation that there's likely some supply up here. So if we come into that range, let's just split the difference. 61-ish. That, by the way, will be the big one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that, well, if we're up here and pushing 100K, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Okay, let's go over to ETH, right? So that's looking about the same. God damn, I don't know what I hit. Somebody knows what I hit there. Something I clicked. I don't know why I'm getting that. Okay, so anything different here on ETH? WXY into a 4. ETFs are brewing, coming. I think that's pretty much a certainty at this point. WXY, similar, right? It's not quite as clean on the last leg down. So there's, it'd be unusual for Bitcoin to go one direction, ETH to go the other direction. Where do we stop? I feel almost so redundant, John, but there it is, right? There's Al, right? Always there. Every chart, every asset, every time frame, right? Always there. Not much to say there other than, okay, it's kind of the same issue. We got to, whatever we're doing here, let's see, well, can we break that golden zone? I think good chance we do. If we break that, okay, what do we got there? Now, the thing with ETH is a possibility here. There's a possibility this rolls into a triangle. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, right? If we don't break here, if we don't break this golden zone and the algos take it back, possibly you could end up in a triangle here, but it's always hard to predict a triangle when, before you're, down to the E leg. So that's just, we know what's happening there. The algo targets down here. If we came that low, if indeed it were to, kick off of this, come down here, well, that would kill the triangle. We'd have to be reevaluating this. Oh shit, we'll get to there. If indeed that happens, I think there's a good chance we blow through here, and at some point, right, there'll be that retracement that'll set up the 1, 2 into the 3 of the 5th at this degree. Seems like a reasonable anticipation. We don't know how long, when it's going to happen, but we can kind of look here. But you can see the possibility that we might be doing something like this here, and then we'll get out of here. I think you get the basic idea, perhaps. Okay, that's ETH, right? So nothing to do. Well, you sort okay. Can we all recognize that would be a terrible place to enter the market? So let's not do that. Let's wait and see a little retrace. Okay, maybe. But if we come, let's go to a 2-hour here. It's kind of the same thing. 1, 2. It looks like 1, 2, 3. That's the 4. Looks very high probability. Just to keep it simple, I'd do it this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3. Working on 4. Looks like we're going to get through. But look, get 65 for the tick. It's incredible, right? It's incredible. You have to know where that is. I say this every week. I don't know what I've done, 5,000 videos, something like that. It had never been a video I did where it wasn't blatantly there, right? So you have to know where that is. Now, just because it's there doesn't mean they can't get through. As I said, I'm anticipating they will break that. And then we'll have a completed impulse. And after the impulse, right, it's just right by the book. Oh, shit. Just trying to finish that. And down we got for 3, and then we go big. All right, so great time to be a crypto trader. Okay, I've got that's all just kind of standard. I'm always going to give you an update on those. I got hang on a sec. I'm just looking for trades that might be available to you right now in terms of being consistent with what we teach here. Binance, we looked at this last week. I don't think this is quite right. This is an interesting coin here, but interesting chart pattern here. 1, 2, 3. It doesn't look like that's enough. I think I mentioned this last week. A, B, C. I love it down here. If we can get that 4 in. Now we got to pay attention to that proposed 1. Let's see. But so the anticipation here would be looking for this to come up here. Maybe we get a little rollover here on Binance, and then we go. Now, okay, if this starts to go, well, we'll come back here and say, well, yeah, shit, that was enough. So I'm reluctant to buy just because of that. And then looking at the balancing out, right, the length of time here of this to correct all of this doesn't seem quite right. So I'll let that go, right? If that's going to fly, let it fly. Aptos, another one, kind of had my eye on. Although this is very similar to many of the alts, all look kind of the same. I'm going to look at Cardano and a few others in a second here. 1, 2, looks like that's 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 is going in. So this likely, it's not quite ripe at the moment, but looks like you've got a shot there. Let's go down to a 2. For this to come in the very near term, I'd for what it's worth, right? This is hot on my watch list. Looking for this to 1, 2, 3, 4 to complete the 3, right? So we still have 4, 5. Some sort of a little 3 to get that. That's one I think you can keep your eye on, right? For that retrace into the 4 to catch the 5. Looks like we've got a good finish here. A looks like this is B, 1, 2, 3. That's the 4 for sure, down for the 5. And then coming off of this with an impulse. Looks like a good setup here. Now you don't want to buy it right here as it's just broken that high, but come up here. You'd have another change of character. Change of character is a break of structure. Break that pivot here, right? Up, down for the 4. Trade into the 5. Another one you could trade with a little bit of leverage, right? But be damn sure you got to stop on it. Oh, and then I had Cardano here. I'm kind of watching that. I've got a fairly good amount of this, but for a place to get in right now, possibly, let's get this down a little bit. Possibly 1, 2, 3. Are we done here? It's maybe. I'd be watching this. I'd love it a little deeper, right? If we can get a little. God damn it! Come here. If we can get this down here up to roll over one more time here, to maybe come down here, fill in that imbalance, then go for the 5. Here, I guess I gotta push this over like that. As that's fussing with it. Looks like more like an A. Again, right, over the weekend, we could have some things kick, but ideally, right, you'd love it here. If you could get a clean 3, then you'd be much more aggressive here, looking for that 4 to the 5. But that's certainly one to have. I'd have a hot list going. That's one to keep an eye on. Looks like you've got a chance here. It's fairly 1, 2, 3, 4, waterfall 5, 1, 2, right? This is all of crypto's kind of done this. As we looked on Bitcoin, right, it was a double. Some exchanges, it's just very close to sweeping the low. It doesn't get there. So this is on Coinbase. 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like there's a 5, A, B, C into the 3. Looks like the 3 is good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Love it down here. We can get it at 40, 45. Love that. And then the other one that I think is potentially very, very close to being ready, that's dog whiff, that's not there yet, is the graph. Now this one, it's an awfully fat diag, but it looks like it's a decent one. One A, B, C, count it however you want. A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C, right? We've got perfect. Again, there's Al again, right? Perfect into the golden zone, comes down to the target, taps the 50. So it's just being controlled by the algo. All right. So we come down here now. Let's go to a 1. Kind of the same thing. Looks like the 4 is going in. So you could jump on that right now. Playing for the 5. You're a little late. Not terribly. 1, 2. Looks like, well, we can label it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like that's going in. Let's change that color so we don't get lost here. Take you up a degree. Okay, 1, 2. Looks like 3 is going now. If you're not comfortable with that, which I can understand, you're a little late. 3. Wait for the 4, and then take the 5. Right, and that will be. Right, but again, let's not shoot for the moon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll grab a little profit, and then wait for this to retrace, because the retrace, assuming we're going to follow good Elliott here. Shit. Let's see. I got the low of the frame. It's a little fucked. Okay, so if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to finish up here. Well, where's the next opportunity? Jeez, what did I do? 1, 2, 3. Right, so we'd be looking down here. So when I say we got an opportunity in the graph to push up here to complete this impulse, well, don't forget after the impulse comes the 50. So, manage it to what's appropriate for you. But if you're a buyer in the 4 to the 5, be prepared for that. Assuming right, it's going to play good Elliott ball, that we're going to come down underneath that entry, right? So maybe your average down depends on your time frame horizon. If you're trading with leverage, well, that wouldn't be very smart. Right, you don't want to take that drawdown. So if you're going to trade with spot, and you want to buy a little here from the 4 to the 5, and maybe it comes down, maybe it doesn't. That's individual preference as to how you want to manage that. I think I'd be if I took the 4 to the 5, I'd want to just bank that, right? Just bank it, right? Maybe a little leverage, not a lot, right? You don't want to. Shit happens, right? So, okay, take a little pump there to complete the impulse, grab some, and then reload. Take that for the reload down here between the 50 and the golden zone. Again, the market's not obligated to get there. It's just what it usually does. Okay, so I think what last thing I'm going to finish up here with the S&P. Oh, not that one. Oh God, where'd I put it? Hang on. Here it is. Okay, so here's a daily on the S&P. So this is modified just slightly. It does look like we're going to go 1 A, B, C into the 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So pretty aggressive wedge coming up into this pivot high. Consistent with what we see down here. You got a little divergence here. Now that's a daily. 1, 2, looks like 3 is going in. I do not think we have topped. Or think being the emphasis word, nobody knows. All right, but it looks like 1, 2, 3 has completed as we start to come down here. We're just looking for 4. So that's a pretty, that's coming down pretty hard from 57 to, minimum target would be 51, 52. Something to keep in mind. Again, market's under no obligation to do anything ever. It's just what more typically would do, right? We might see something like this, right? You got a fairly decent order block here because it's got 2 fair value gaps, right? So that's what you'd be looking to play, right? For that to go into the 5th, and right, if we're going to have a rate cut or 2 going into the end of the year, and then the election and all the craziness that will bring. 1, 2, 3, 4 seems like that rip for the 5 would be pretty solid, but that's potentially we'd be finishing something there. Now, is that the top of the top, or is that just another 1 being retraced for a 2? Either way, the expectation would be, well, if that's going to finish up here. Oh, seems like, oh, come on, man. It's not going to come down that far. Is it? Well, nobody knows. I wouldn't bet against it. Why would you do that? Why would you bet against it doing what it normally does? Usually does. The vast majority of the time. Is it different this time? Is it? I'll let you decide. Okay, guys, have a good weekend. Back next week. I'm a little sidelined here on a few things. When my brand new machine, my brand new state-of-the-art machine is not even a month old, died on me yesterday. Something in the cooling of the CPU. So I'm out of commission on that machine here. But functional, and we'll be back online, back regular schedule next week. So with that, I'll wish you guys a good weekend. Don't forget to check our links underneath. Lots of things, opportunities, things we recommend, things that you see me use here. And of course, you can always join our Discord for free. Right? Come in and have a chat, look around, see if it's something you'd like to pursue and develop some expertise with this methodology that we teach. Okay, guys, have a good weekend. I'll see you next week.